I'm going to answer the following question in Spanish. Would you write it like this or this? Knowing how to make questions, it's a must-know for conversational vocabulary of any language. But not only you have to know how to say them and what it means, but also how to use them and how to write them, which is what we're gonna see today. We're gonna see all 9 Spanish question words and their variations, and we're also gonna see what kind of question sentences can you create in Spanish. We have 2 kinds of ways to create questions in Spanish. Well, in Spanish and in English. Directly and indirectly. A direct question is that in which you're directly asking the question, ¿Estás bien? And an indirect question is a question that someone else has formulated and that you're letting someone else know. Ramón pregunta si estás bien. As a general rule, Spanish question words are encased by 2 different question marks, but indirect questions do not use question marks. And then inside both direct and indirect questions, we find another 2 kinds of question sentences. Questions that use question words and questions that do not use question words. A sentence with a question word versus a sentence without a question word would be ¿Qué película quieres ver? Versus ¿Quieres ver esta o esta película? So how does this work? Let's start with indirect questions. Remember that indirect questions have no question marks, and we have 2 types. The one with no question words. In this one, we use the word sí, which in this case does not mean yes, but if. And this one is a question that's a bit more elaborated and it makes you choose between 2 or more options. Ramón pregunta si te vienes al cine. What would you answer? Yes, no, maybe, but you wouldn't delve much into answering the question. It's a very simple question to answer. Meanwhile, the second type that requires question words is a more basic question with a more detailed answer. ¿Dónde nos vemos? See, here the question word is ¿dónde? Where? Be careful though, because even though these questions are not in between question marks, it does not mean that they do not have an accent. They are still questions and therefore they have an accent. Question words have situations in which they do not use the accent, and that is when they are a part of a sentence that is not a question. Cuando vayas al supermercado, compra zanahorias. Direct questions. So the first type, without the question word, it's a more elaborated question so that you can give a shorter answer, and it's a question that gives you 2 or more options for you to choose from. ¿Te gusta ir al cine? Again, you would answer yes or no. ¿Vamos al cine hoy, mañana o pasado? In this sentence, we have 3 options to choose from. The second type, with the question words, it is again a short question with an elaborated answer. ¿Dónde está el cine? En la plaza. Question word here, ¿dónde? ¿Qué película quieres ver? Quiero ver Los Increíbles. Okay, now that we are done with that, we are diving right into the question words. Out of the 9 of them, 4 of them are pronouns, and the other 5 are adverbs. ¿Qué? ¿Qué refers to a thing or an action? ¿Qué es eso? ¿Qué haces? ¿De qué? ¿Sobre qué? ¿En qué? All these 3 words are used to refer to a topic. ¿En qué piensas? ¿De qué habláis? ¿Sobre qué habláis? ¿Con qué? This one's used to talk about a tool that you're going to use to do something else. ¿Con qué lo vas a abrir? ¿Por qué? Used to demand a reason. ¿Por qué no me haces caso? ¿Por qué no? Be careful here. You have 3 ways in which you write por qué, and all of them are used for different things. You have por qué, which is divided and it has an accent, and that one is the por qué used to make questions. ¿Por qué no me escuchas? We have por qué, which is written all together and without any accent, and this is used to answer to ¿por qué no me escuchas? Porque no quiero. And finally, we have por qué, which is all together and it has an accent, and its use is literally reason. Cuéntame el porqué de tu decisión. Tell me the why of your decision. Tell me the reason of your decision. ¿Para qué? This one asks about the intention. ¿Para qué quieres abrirlo? Para comérmelo. This is a very useful slang you can say that uses qué. ¿Qué dices? It means what? I cannot believe you. What are you saying? What? Something like that. ¿Quién? Or the plural, ¿quiénes? This one refers to a person. ¿Quién te ha dado el libro? Mi amigo. ¿A quién o a quiénes? This one's a little bit more difficult because I have to get into a bit of grammar, but I will try to make it as easy as possible. You can use a quién or a quiénes referring to a person who is a direct object. ¿A quién has visto? A Ramón. Or you can also use a quién o a quiénes referring to a person who is an indirect object. ¿A quién le has dado el libro? A Ramón. ¿Con quién? This one asks about company. ¿Con quién has ido a la fiesta? ¿Para quién? Asking about the receiver. ¿Para quién son las flores? Para ti. ¿Cuál or its plural, cuáles? This one is used to ask about a choice. ¿Cuál te gusta más? El naranja. ¿Cuánto? This one has a plural and a feminine option. ¿Cuánto? ¿Cuánta? ¿Cuántos? ¿Cuántas? It is used to ask about quantity. ¿Cuántas casas tienes? Solo una. ¿Cada cuánto? Used to ask about frequency. ¿Cada cuánto comes helado? Casi todos los días. ¿Cuántas veces? This one's used to ask about repetition. ¿Cuántas veces has comido helado hoy? ¿Cómo? To ask about a way. ¿Cómo usas los palillos? ¿Dónde? Just ¿dónde is used to ask about location. ¿Dónde está París? En Francia. ¿A dónde? To ask about destination. ¿A dónde vas? A París. ¿De dónde? To ask about origin. ¿De dónde eres? Soy de París. ¿Cuándo? ¿Cuándo is used to ask about a moment in time. ¿Cuándo quedamos? Sobre las 7. I already told you in one of my previous videos that in Spain we are not the most punctual creatures, so we always say around instead of saying exactly the time that we're meeting at. ¿Para cuándo? ¿Para cuándo is used to ask about deadlines. ¿Para cuándo es el trabajo? Para el viernes. ¿Desde cuándo? This one's used to ask about the beginning. ¿Desde cuándo vives en París? Desde el año pasado. If you look around Spanish companies, you will realize that some of them have on their logos desde 1970, which means since 1970, and that desde is the one that we use here in desde cuándo to indicate the beginning. The company has been here since 1970. That was when it began. So yeah, that's desde cuándo. ¿Hasta cuándo? To question about the ending. ¿Hasta cuándo estás en París? Hasta la semana que viene. Que tengas un buen día. That que doesn't have an accent. Bye. Bye bye.